Again, good morning, everyone. You get to listen to me today as a colored birthday present to Robin. So really quickly, I'm going to tell you two stories this morning. The first is my brief journey through music, and the second will be an introduction to what I think music is. So, first of all, I started playing the piano when I was about 5 years old. I didn't really take it very seriously up until high school, and I did it on and off throughout the years. What really ignited, I think, my love for music and the beginning of my journey into my musical career was film score and video game music. Not one in particular, it was a very random time where I began listening to just music from various things, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, the big things I enjoyed as a kid. And that really got me inspired to start using the skills I had mustered at that point in my life, to start learning some, maybe doing a little bit of performing. The next step was my mother forcing me to join the concert band when I was in high school. I assure you, I wanted nothing to do with it when I started. When I began, our music department had just reopened after about 12 years. My band director was only 27 years old and already a famous musician himself. And I literally started, I was the only person in band. It was me and the band director, that's it. Yeah, that was band. So I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So you know what? My parents said, well, I don't care. Basically, you're going to do it anyway. So I said, okay. Me with my little clarinet that was, bigger than my fingers could even hold. Within 4 years, we had 175 people in the music department and over 200 in the chorus. And a lot of that, this is my band director's words, not mine, he attributed to student government, me, the one person in student government. And we built it up very, very well. And it became something to really marvel when I left. Spoiler alert, the school's closed now, sorry to hear. You will find a common occurrence. 3 out of the 4 schools I've been to are now closed, including my college, but I don't know. Don't worry, no churches have closed. No churches have closed. Don't worry about that. But anyway, about the time of COVID, I was studying for my bachelor's degree in music education and my minor in composition. That's when I fell into church music. I started to become an organist. Again, because my piano professor at the time is like, so this is a gig I have, I don't want to go, it's organ, can you learn it in like 2 weeks? Okay, I can. So that's how I did, and I took this job, and now I am here doing things that I love, and I genuinely very much enjoy this job. So that is a very brief outlook on my journey through music and why I am so passionate about it. The second story I'm going to tell you, it starts at the first day of my senior year classes in my college career. The course was titled World Music, and it focused on non-Western music cultures in addition to how music is performed, what instruments, or in what manner they are performed. We studied everything from backwater Japanese dancing to Tuvan throat singing. It's a very wide array of studies. Very difficult course, but it was entertaining. Our story begins on the first day of classes, as I said. It was very exciting to see that our little corner of Western classical music is only a small percentage. I don't remember the exact, I think it's like 5% of the world's actual music, which is very small considering that's all we hear about now. The professor began the class by asking several complex questions about music and our culture. As four-year music scholars, these were very easily answered, except for the final question. Now, you may be surprised to hear that when a group of fourth-year music students are asked to define music, the reason we're in college, the room fell silent. I remember this moment very well. It was very uncomfortable, too. It felt like it was an eternity waiting for somebody to answer. So me, having mustered up a very technical and academic answer, responded with the following. Music is very simply any collection of sound or rhythm we find pleasurable as people. But in order to truly define it, we need to rely on perspective. This is why music remains an art. Its definition continues to be written and adjusted every day. Now, at the time, my colleagues and professor were quite impressed with my answer. However, I look back on it and realize I had no idea what the definition of music actually was. There's a quote I enjoy by Leonard Bernstein that is often attributed to him that says, Life without music is unthinkable. Music without life is academic. That is why my contact with music is a total embrace. Let's look at it in this sense. Music is a form of praise, no matter what type or for what reason the music is being performed. I think it means something to everyone, but it doesn't always have the same meaning to everyone. I found that lots of people remember music from various events in their lives. Maybe it was your first dance. Maybe it was the last hymn at a funeral of a loved one. Perhaps it was your wedding song. It doesn't really matter, but more than that, maybe there is a song that helps you settle emotions, ones that make you happy when you listen to, some you listen to when you are sad. I think the greatest example of thematic music, which was also my inspiration for music, would be film scoring. I can tell you with absolute certainty, the first time I went to a live orchestra concert, it was a John Williams tribute, and the closing piece was the theme from Schindler's List. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie or listened to that soundtrack. It is a very, very depressing and powerful moment. To this day, I cannot get through a live performance of the theme from Schindler's List without coming to tears. Truly, I cannot. Very, very powerful, and that's what I like about music. So I guess in that sense, the definition of praise is more an honorable one. Schindler's List is about everything happening in World War II with the Nazi regime. So I think in that case, it's more honor than praise for sure. Film scoring is good at showing the power it can possess and the story it can tell. I could stand here for literal hours telling you about how many different pieces of music I like and everything about the composer and their background and why they wrote the piece. But I think the point to remember here is music can be so powerful. So, is there a particular piece in your life that made you sad? Maybe it was, like I said, in the guise of film music, maybe it was a particular character. Maybe it was your life. Were you excited for that character? Or maybe it was music that made you think of an event in your life. Maybe it made you nostalgic, made you sad. It is all connected because music is the great connector. A more extreme example, music is written about historic events, political movements, patriotism, things we know well. There are some extreme forms that describe things in very strange ways. For example, in 1961, Krzysztof Penderecki wrote a piece called Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima. It is a 3-movement piece. It is about 9 minutes long, and it's full of horrifically haunting dissonance and pure chaos that describes events leading up to and through the bombings of Hiroshima. The first time I listened to that, by the way, I was on a car drive with a couple friends of mine, and we were in the middle of the dark woods where there was no lighting, so that made it a little bit creepier. But truly, listen to it if you have a chance. Beautiful piece. However, on the flip side, you have something that you would never think is music. In 1952, John Cage wrote the infamous piece 4 minutes, 33 seconds, which is exactly as it sounds, 4 minutes of 33 seconds of silence. The most oftenly performed by a pianist, the pianist approaches the piano, he sits there, and he counts to 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And the point here is that ambient sound can be music, or maybe it was the sound of your own thoughts, whatever music is going in your head. These two extreme points are just it's the lower end and the higher end of music. Even though maybe you don't consider it music if you listen to it, the point is it's still powerful and it's still a form of praise. Another quote from Leonard Bernstein, music can name the unnameable and communicate the unknowable. So you'll notice I haven't actually talked about one of the most important forms of music, and that is worship music. I think many people would agree that if you took music out of this worship setting, in any church, in any congregation, the entire community and the message of that service will suffer. I know well, the church I grew up in, we had a pastor who did not at all prioritize music. And while we had just refurbished a $6 million pipe organ and doing all this work, they decided to cancel the music department and get rid of all of our music staff. And very quickly, we went from having over 100 people in service a week to about 60. And that took less than a month for that to happen. because people found it boring. See, musicians, we're all very important here. But truly, we are blessed here at First Church to have a well-established music ministry, in addition to so many talented musicians that are in this congregation. Thank you to all of you, by the way, if I didn't say it enough today. Since the beginning of Christianity, music has been a central element of services. In fact, the earliest written records of music came from early worship. There is even a record that J.S. Bach, who is widely considered the godfather of Western music, dedicated all of his works to God. To God first and only to God, I think was the exact translation. It was written in the bottom left of his transcriptions. Now, having said all this, and giving you a deep dive into some film scoring stuff, the point of music, the definition of music, and then the point of music in worship, I extend this message to you. Specifically for the remainder of this service, I want you to sing with all of the praise in your heart, all the energy you have, and not just today. Do it going forward. This is a time where you can really, maybe it's lamenting, maybe it's praising, maybe it's a joyous occasion, whatever it is in these services. There is something you can share that is unnameable to you, that you can give to everyone in this congregation, yourself, the people around you, and to all the musicians up here. In the Psalms read today, we heard at one point, I believe, I cried out to him with my mouth. His praise was on my tongue. When it comes to singing in worship, it's not about pitches. It's not about notes. It's not about rhythm. Ignore this. Really, truthfully, what it's about is praise. Music was gifted to us by God. It is only right that we use this gift wholeheartedly in our worship. Now, I'm going to leave you with a quote today attributed to St. Augustine, which is said, "He who sings praises not only praises, but praises joyfully." In a different restatement, singing is praying twice. Amen.